Premier League predictions that include Nottingham Forest Football Club. Never thought I'd see the day, but let's do it. Oh yeah, it's my birthday. It was yesterday anyway. I'm just representing Brian Hayder. I know I look about 14, but trust me, I am 21. This is probably the most difficult video to do, maybe besides the Championship edition, which is even harder. If you want to go and watch that, there's a link to that here. But watch this video first. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy it. Coming rock bottom, in my opinion, Bournemouth. This is probably quite a popular pick, and I'm sure Bournemouth fans are probably quite frustrated about that at this stage. But I'd be keen to know what Bournemouth fans are thinking if you are watching this. Are we writing you off too easily like we did last time and you survived for 5 seasons? And that is definitely a reason to maybe not write you off immediately. But I look at your squad compared to pretty much every team in the division, and I just don't think it has the overall quality. The transfer window hasn't been the most outstanding. Ryan Fredericks, Joe Rothwell and Marcus Tavernier coming in. Tavernier coming in for about £10 million, but ultimately someone that I said it already. How many times did I say it in the Championship edition, that word? Ultimately, he's unproven in the Premier League, and maybe they could have been aiming higher than him, but I don't think that's too bad of a move, really. But he probably will end up back in the Championship in less than a year's time. And I've said this enough times recently, I don't think Scott Parker is the right man to try and keep Bournemouth in the Premier League. So I don't think anything is really going in their favour, but prove me wrong, Bournemouth. Go for it. 19th, this is really standard stuff. It's got to be Fulham. I do think they stand a better chance of staying up this time than last time, given the fact they have Marco Silva. He hasn't been the most outstanding manager in the Premier League, but I do think he is better than the manager I just mentioned at Bournemouth. I think he's definitely got more of a know-how when it comes to keeping a team up. But as Marco Silva himself has said recently, the centre-back situation is pretty horrendous. They've only got 2 senior centre-backs with the Premier League kicking off in less than 2 days' time. Tim Ream and Tosin Adarabioyo. Adarabioyo is a good young player, but Tim Ream is far from Premier League standard. They need at least, in my opinion, about 2 or 3 centre-backs. Whether that happens or not is another question. I do like the signing of Polinia from Sporting. It is a bit of a known signing when it comes to English football, but £17 million, I think that is definitely a very, very good sign of intent for them. Bernd Leno coming in is more than a safe pair of hands at this level, certainly for a team like Fulham. I think they've definitely done better recruitment than Bournemouth, but they still need to do plenty more, in my opinion, to really stand a chance of survival. I think really, on the face of it, the squad is pretty good, but the squad depth is going to be quite a major issue, in my opinion, unless they can sort that out. And again, Alexander Mitrovic has failed to make the step up to the Premier League every time in the past. However, he has never come off the back of a 50-goal season in the Championship, so maybe that momentum, hopefully for his sake, will continue into the top flight. 18th now, when I did the early version, I put Leeds in 18th place. My neighbour wasn't very happy with me, who supports Leeds United. And I haven't just changed it because he supports them. I genuinely don't think they're going to go down anymore, because I think Everton will instead. I think Everton have finished, quite frankly. They were dreadful last season. They've got a poor manager, in my opinion, in Frank Lampard. And the transfer business is not at all ambitious. Losing Richarlison, it was their only hope last season, really. And even he at times was a little bit questionable. And they're going to sign Dwight McNeil from Burnley, which, I mean, it would be an obvious move for him to make, but is he going to be good enough to fill the shoes of Richarlison? I don't think he will be, and they've definitely overspent on him. Tarkowski is a very solid bit of business, and Ruben Vinagre coming in, formerly of Wolves, on loan. I do like that. You look through their squad, there's so much deadwood in it, and there's players that just aren't going to be good enough, and hopefully they prove me wrong, because it would be incredible to see Everton get relegated, but I just think nothing tells me they're going to do any better than they did last season. 17th, I've gone with Southampton. I think they'll just about have enough. 2 15th place finishes in a row is certainly something to consider when you are trying to debate who's going to get relegated. Will they make the drop down to the relegation zone? And I was close to doing that, to be honest, if it wasn't for the fact that they've signed some pretty good players. Joe Arabo is a player I rate very highly, coming in from Rangers. Lavin from Man City. Mara coming in as a forward from Bordeaux. They signed 2 new goalkeepers as well. They've done some good business there, and I think that will give them a bit of a burst of energy that they did need. Keeping Ward-Prowse is like a new signing, but there are areas of this team that is going to let down their chances of doing anything special this season or just avoiding a relegation battle. I think it will be more of the same, to be honest, from Southampton's point of view. And if they do change their manager, which I'll be surprised if Hassel can last another season of mediocrity, maybe they could do better. 16th for Government Leeds. This is a team that I was very close to putting in the relegation zone. I did do that in the early version, as I mentioned. And yeah, I think they'll do better than that now. They've made some good signings to replace key players that have left. Obviously, the main ones being Rafinha and Calvin Phillips. They've got nearly 100 million combined for both of them, and they've done a good job in reinvesting that money in their replacements. You'd presume that Tyler Adams would be the one that's going to replace Phillips the most. They've also signed Rocker from Bayern Munich, a very highly rated young player. Aronson and Christiansen have come in from Salzburg, and obviously it's worth pointing out that Adams has come from Leipzig, so they're literally Red Bull Leeds United at this stage. And I do think Sinistera is probably the replacement for Rafinha. So fair play to them. They haven't just let losing two key players completely screw them over. They've tried their best to replace them, and hopefully they will. And I think all those players are young with good potential. None of them are older than 25 years of age. So I think that's definitely going to be something that is going to go in their favour. I think with the manager Jesse March, there was a few doubts about him last season. I think a few Leeds fans are still a little bit 50-50, but he ultimately kept them up. But I think over time he will continue to improve as a manager, and I think it will probably still be a relegation battle this season for Leeds, but I don't think they're going to be quite as bad as they were last season. And obviously injuries played quite a big part in how they performed last year as well. They're starting off afresh this season. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. 15th, I've gone with Brentford. I think they will again do alright. Nothing too major. They have dropped off a little bit compared to last season in this prediction. I don't think second season syndrome would be too much of an issue for them. They've made some good signings in Ben Mee, Keane Lewis Potter, Strakosha, and also Aaron Hickey as well, coming in from Bologna as a fullback. And on top of that, great business. They haven't really lost anyone major besides Christian Eriksen, and he was only there for a short period of time. They've still got the same core group of players there, on top of signing some excellent new players as well. I think it would be another pretty solid season, and it might not be quite as easy as what it was last season. 14th, this would be a very, very disappointing and huge drop off for a club that were looking so exciting just a few seasons ago. Wolves. I just don't see where their future lies anymore. They were looking really exciting, but the way they're going, they're going to become like Burnley. They had a few injuries last season. Pedro Neto is one of them. He's going to be available again, which is a huge boost for them. But you look at other areas of the pitch, Jimenez, since that injury he had over the COVID season, he hasn't quite been the same player, and they haven't really got anyone else that screams goals in that side. And if they are going to lose Ruben Neves potentially to Man United, that's looking like a likely destination for them at the moment. That's a massive pair of shoes to fill again. And you know, looking at the business they've made, Nathan Collins is an excellent centre back, a player that I rate very highly. Hwang has also come in permanently after a good loan spell last season, but other than that, it is very quiet at Wolves. They need to do more, in my opinion. They could still lose Morgan Gibbs-White as well, potentially to Forest. There are a few other teams interested in him, but it is a bit of a disappointing finish if they get 14th, and they were, you know, up in the Europa League places not that long ago. 10th last season, 4 places dropping off. I think they've still got a good team, but they do need more. They do need a lot more quality, in my opinion. Here we go then. I talk about this team more than enough on this channel. 13th, Nottingham Forest. I could see us a bit lower than this, maybe 14th, 15th. I don't really see us being much higher. I think really, if we're going to be generous, 13th to 16th area of the table is where I think we're going to come. Some are saying 9th or 10th. I think that is a bit of a stretch. I would absolutely love it, obviously, but I think it's a stretch. A lot of people that don't understand the club, that haven't realised what our situation was, are saying we've done a Fulham. Like, you know, they signed a lot of players a few years ago, they got relegated, they spent a lot of money on them as well. We've done a very similar thing. Correct, we have. May I just remind you, we had 5 loanees, we had a few players' contracts expire, Graven, Figueiredo, Lord Gaetang Bong, and then other players who just weren't good enough. Joe Lolly, Xander Silva, a Hader, you know, players like that, they just weren't good enough. So you've got to replace them. So do you want us to keep the squad we had at the end of the playoff final when all the loanees and all those players had left, and then just use youth players and get absolutely torn apart and do worse than Derby? No. So we had no choice but to sign a load of players. And the key thing is, Steve Cooper is incredibly good at integrating new players into teams and getting a team spirit going and city ground atmospheres. That doesn't stifle you up and make you more, up for it. And God knows what will. And they're all amazing players. I am so excited to watch these lads play. Nico Williams is an outstanding footballer. Lewis O'Brien, I'm so excited to see that guy play for us regularly because he looks outstanding as well. Toffolo is a great bit of business. Dean Henderson is an incredible replacement for Bruce Samanier. Carter looks like an absolute brick wall. Jesse Lingard. We've made more than that as well, but I'm just so excited. Awani, that he's had a bit of a slow start in pre-season, but I've still got all the confidence in the world that he's going to have a good year. He just needs a bit of confidence behind him. But I do like everything that's going on with Forest right now, and I'm going to stop talking about us because this video is going to be quite long anyway, and I waffle about us enough. So 13th is my prediction for Nottingham Forest. In 12th place, I'm going with Brighton. I think there are a few negatives around the club right now when it comes to losing Basuma and all but certainly losing Cucurella. I really like Cucurella. I think he's an excellent player and it's going to be a massive position to fill when you realise that they haven't really got another left back besides him. I'll be a bit worried as a Brighton fan, losing Cucurella and then Basuma as well. But they've still got some good players in there. I've always rated Trossard in particular. And again, just looking through that entire team, there's some good talent in there. But I think a little bit like Forest, the manager is what glues this team together. I think Graham Potter is a huge part of how Brighton can be successful at any stage of their history with him in charge. I think he really is building something there, and a 9th place finish is something that they can really build on. But losing those two key players is going to be quite painful in my opinion for them. They signed 2 players for around £17 million combined in, I'm not going to try and pronounce their names to be honest, I'll get it completely wrong. Both forward options, which is, you can never really go wrong with that, but I do think they do need an out-and-out striker. This has been something that we've been talking about for a long time with Brighton. They've got Neil Maupay is inconsistent. Welbeck's good, but he is getting on a little bit now. And you look at the rest of the strikers' options, Adone is been deadwood for years. In my opinion, they need a really good, strong striker, and then maybe they could do better than 12th. 11th. I think this is quite a solid finish for this club, but they'll want to try and aim even higher than this. Aston Villa. I've always liked Villa, to be honest, and I am looking forward to our game against Villa on a Monday night I think it's October, isn't it, or September, so I'm looking forward to that. They're a little bit similar to us, really. A big club with huge ambition to get back to a place that they once were. Bringing in Diego Carlos for £27 million from Sevilla and a backup goalie in Robin Olsen or Gustinson coming in as a left-back cover, as well as Kamara joining as well for free. Some great business there, and they've still got some excellent players on their hands. Matty Cash, not sure where he came from, but he's an excellent player, of course. Bringing in Coutinho permanently, as well as obviously having young players like Jacob Ramsey as well. They've got some good players in that team, without a doubt. Forwards, maybe a bit questionable, because Ings is a little bit injury prone. Watkins has been inconsistent down the years, really. And I think particularly the key thing now for Villa is, can Gerrard make this click? Can he get it to work? Because they've already got a good team. They brought in some good signings, but it's all about Gerrard now being able to make this all click together and work. And if he does that, then they're in a good place. 10th place, Leicester City. I'm going to drop them off, to be honest. They've already failed to get European football for this season. I think it's going to be the same again. One massive reason as to why I dropped them off is they have signed literally no one. No players at all. And apart from losing their 3rd choice goalkeeper in Jakupovic and Lukman as well, who was on loan to them last season, they haven't even lost anyone. Like, they're literally the quietest club in the transfer window by an absolute country mile. After an underwhelming season, I would have thought they would have wanted to try and strengthen, and they just haven't. And also Brendan Rodgers has had quite a bit of criticism from Leicester fans, and you could question whether he is good enough or not. You can't be carried by a 35-year-old Jamie Vardy anymore, It's like Sheffield United with Billy Sharp. He's 36. Eventually, he's going to have to retire. You've got to get someone in that can long-term fill the shoes of Jamie Vardy. Getting in, Keane Drewsbury Hall on a long-term contract is a good bit of business. They could very well be about to lose James Maddison for at least 40 million to Newcastle. It's a lot of money, but they're not really going to reinvest that. And I just don't really know what Leicester want to be right now. Like, they want to obviously try and be a team that competes in Europe and wins trophies, but I'm not sure they're going about it in quite the right way at the moment. 9th, this would be an absolutely brilliant finish for this team. Crystal Palace, I think they're an excellent prospect with a hell of a lot of potential, and they did a really good job last season. Ultimately, it was a 12th place finish, nothing too spectacular, but unlike previous seasons, you actually could see something really building at Palace. I think Patrick Vieira is still proving himself as a manager, and they went toe-to-toe with the biggest teams. They took 4 points off Man City last season, and I think they're going to do similar this year. Not having Gallagher is going to be a big loss, but they've still got players like Marcus Guay, Mitchell, Elise, and then signed Decore from Lens for 18 million as well. I think is a really smart bit of business, getting in Johnston as a backup goalkeeper, as well as Chris Richards coming in from Bayern Munich for about £10 million. They've made some good smart signings, all of them being young. I think they've got a really good chance of breaking into the top 10, which would be a huge statement of intent and huge progress for Crystal Palace. 8th, now, saying they're the richest club in the world, they haven't even spent that much money, which I'm actually pleased about. They haven't just gone out and spent 200 million immediately. I'm obviously talking about Newcastle United here. Eddie Howe's absolutely captivated and galvanised that club. It's going to be incredible to see how he's going to continue to thrive and develop that team. Nick Pope coming in, obviously a huge upgrade on Dubravka and Darlow. Matt Targett signed permanently, Sven Botman for £33 million. They've got rid of some of the Deadwood in Hedrick, Hayden, Gale, for instance, and they've spent £59 million, which is a lot of money, but for the richest club in the world, they could have spent a lot more than that. I think a lot of people thought they were going to spend about 150 million or something mad like that, which so far they haven't. I think they're trying to build for a European place in the long run, but I'm not so sure they're going to get it straight away. I think they're just going to miss out this season, but there's certainly a strong feel-good factor around the club, and if a St James's Park atmosphere can't get you going on home matches, then I don't really know what can. Maybe a City ground atmosphere, but you know what I mean. West Ham, there's a few areas in this team that do need to be improved, like left back. I think Aaron Cresswell's been an excellent servant to them, but he has been a bit questionable at times. Plus, the main thing really, he is the only left back they've got, so they seriously need to strengthen that area of the pitch. Getting in Ariola permanently, a centre back from Rennes, I'll put his name on the screen so I don't butcher it. Scamara as well, coming in from Sassuolo, who got 16 goals last season in the Serie A. Flynn Downs coming in from Swansea. They've made some good additions there. Jesse Lingard. Yeah, they didn't get Jesse Lingard in, did they? I think a little bit like with Southampton keeping Ward-Prowse, keeping Declan Rice. It's basically like a new signing. Keeping someone as good as him for another season is huge, and I think they've got a very good chance of winning the Conference League. Hopefully for their sake it doesn't affect them in the league like it did last season, because they were doing very well and they ended up finishing outside the Europa League places in the league. And I think they really were banking on winning the Europa League and getting Champions League football, but that could not happen, unfortunately, for them. David Moyes, obviously an excellent manager. I think they're heading in the right direction yet again. It'd be another good season for West Ham United. So then, the top 6. It's obvious what 6 clubs are going to be in this top 6 area of the table, but in what order? Manchester United, Erik ten Hag, very exciting appointment. Obviously, I think he's definitely got more pull and more excitement than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Obviously, he did do a good job with what he had available, but I just think they have a much better manager on their hands there. So even if it isn't working out, they've got more of a chance of actually doing something this season. He's obviously brought in one of his Ajax players in Martinez from Ajax at centre-back. Obviously, Eriksen's also come in. They're probably going to get one of De Jong or Ruben Neves in the midfield position. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they do. I just think long-term, no matter how good Ten Hag does, the Glazers are still a problem. They need to sort out the ownership. I think it is slow building blocks. They will get there in time. Arsenal. I think there's definitely a feel-good factor around the club. No European football last season did help when they nearly got European football. Getting in Zinchenko and Jesus is outstanding business. That is unbelievable business. Fabio Vieira as well from Porto. I think Arteta's continuing to improve himself as a manager, but something's just making me think they're not going to break that top four, get back into the top four. Got so many young exciting players, Saka, Smith Rowe, Martinelli, just to name a few. They're a really, really exciting prospects, and I think in time, the future's definitely bright for them, but right now I'm just not really sure whether it will be wise to put them in the top four or not just yet. Fourth, now this club confused me, but I just felt like it was a bit stupid to not put them in the top four. Chelsea. After winning the Champions League, unexpected that they kind of dropped off a little bit, finishing third last season, pretty much locked in third place, and very underwhelming performances at home against rather average sides at times. Getting rid of Lukaku was the obvious thing they needed to do. The whole ownership situation at Chelsea has been sorted out now. Owners worth £4.2 billion from America, and they brought in Sterling, Koulibaly, another goalkeeper as well. Having Gallagher and Brodra available now are essentially like new signings after how well they did last season. So I think they've definitely got a chance of doing well again, but they still need to sign a striker. Losing Lukaku didn't work, and I mean they've got Werner for instance, but they just need, for me, an out and out really, really good striker, but just do not give him the number 9 shirt, because that will not end well. Tottenham, very exciting prospect right now. I'm going to put them third. I think they should easily be getting top 3 in my opinion. They're heading in the right direction again, more towards where they were under Pochettino, but they're going to want to try and actually go that one step further and actually make it a silverware era rather than just a very good era without trophies like it was under Pochettino. I think under Antonio Conte, they've got a gigantic opportunity to have a really good spell in their history. But bringing in Perisic, it's not the most long-term signing, but he's someone that obviously knows Conte very well, will fit the system very well that Conte plays. Basuma's an excellent signing. Jed Spence, not really sure where he came from, but decent bit of squad depth, and I think he definitely has the potential to break into the first team for sure. Only Conte didn't actually want to sign him apparently, so that's not the most encouraging start for his Spurs career. Richarlison's an interesting one. Not sure how he's going to fit in, but I think he will get quite a bit of game time. Kulusevski is outstanding. I think he's an amazing footballer, and keeping on a Son and Kane is again huge. And for their own sake, I'm not a Spurs fan, if you couldn't tell, but I really want, for their own careers, that those two win a trophy, because Son is incredible. And I can't wait to see him play against us. And even though you want these players to be on the losing team, being in the Premier League, just getting the chance to witness all these world-class players come to us is just the most enthralling thing ever. And yeah, we saw a bit of it last season in the FA Cup, but to see it week in, week out is just unbelievable. And Son is definitely one of the players I'm looking forward to seeing the most. Second, I'm not really sure what to say about this club, to be honest, because it's just business as usual. It's got to be Liverpool, really, hasn't it? Losing Mane is a bit of a surprise and a big name to fill. Nunez for 85 million. He didn't start pre-season that well, but he's picked up since. He scored 4 goals in that friendly. I can't even remember who it was against, but he scored 4 goals against them. Calvin Ramsey and Fabio Carvalho, young players coming in from Aberdeen and Fulham. Definitely prospect signings, but I do think even now they're players that can make an impact if they had to be on the pitch at the very least. I think again they'll be right up there. Liverpool, maybe they do need a few more additions, but I don't think it's going to be at all a worry. Losing Mane is not ideal, but they're still going to be incredible, aren't they? So first place, it's business as usual yet again. Manchester City, if you win the league like they did last season, and the start they did, and they want to try and go for the Champions League in the long run, and then you go and sign Erling Haaland, I think that's a gigantic statement of intent. Calvin Phillips is an excellent signing as well. They spent a lot of money on those two combined, but they've made 143 million in profits when it comes to outgoings. So I think that's got to be encouraging. They can reinvest that into the squad. They could be still getting Cucurella, like I mentioned earlier, but they are competing with Chelsea. Left back is the only weak area of the pitch now. Other than that, the squad is looking really, really, really strong. That is my Premier League predictions for the 2022-23 season. It was an absolute delight to include Nottingham Forest in it. Hopefully that can be the same thing for the foreseeable future. But if you have enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to Rads if you know. I try my best to make this as fair and as balanced as possible and justify my reasonings for putting these teams where I put them. Please, of course, let me know in the comments below your predictions, what you think of mine. Plenty of content coming up, and I'll see you very, very soon.